Well, it is official. All the boys are in the building, and the Cleveland Browns will hold their first practice of the 2025 season on Wednesday. We're going to talk about the facts of the Cleveland Browns positional rooms because a lot of this discourse and discussions have kind of been fabricated and, in my opinion, made up. Let's see what's real and not real about the Cleveland Browns. Browns 3D on the OBR begins now. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound Browns 3D on the OBR streaming network. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd, and of course, everybody here at the OBR. We see the uptick, obviously, in the traffic, and we are always thankful for all the support from all of you great listeners and readers here of the OBR. Now, everybody comes out after they read the work all day and joins us on the OBR streaming network beginning each night at 6 o'clock, Browns 3D. After us tonight, you will have Brad Ward and Pete Smith with the React. And if you're a late nighter, stick around 9 o'clock. You will get the React as well. Again, we want to appreciate everybody who came out last night or tried to come out last night. And I want to give props to Brad Ward and Barry McBride. These guys did such a great job setting the show up. And obviously, there were technical difficulties, but the work that was done by Brad and Barry, and for those who actually were there for the show, you guys saw it. Like, it was fun. I appreciate it. And it's a shame sometimes, obviously, when technology fails on you a little bit. But again, we appreciate everybody. Make sure you subscribe to the OBR on YouTube. Of course, make sure you're subscribed to the OBR over on Twitch. And can we talk about the VIP premium package here at theobr.com? First off, if you were ever tempted, now's the time. Get in for a brand new season. Exclusive access to our VIP premium forums, including Insider Central for premium scoops. Ask the Insiders where Lane Adkins and our writers answer all your questions. You guys know Lane. He's worth the price of admission alone. And the OBR VIP stories and all the exclusive recruiting and transfer reporter scoop from across the 247 Sports Network. As soon as you renew your membership after the first of the year, you get Paramount Plus with Showtime thrown in for free. Guys, that kind of pays for the sub itself. We're here. Everybody's checked in. Camp is ready to go. Little eating tonight. Boys saying hello, getting reacquainted, showing pictures of maybe the new kids to their teammates. But tomorrow, Wednesday, it gets real. And if we're going to talk real, let's talk real. And we'll do a little bit on each positional group. I'm going to be completely honest. The amount of talk the quarterback position has gotten since the season ended in January to where we are now, it's been a lot. It's been excessive. It's been downright nuts. You know it. I know it. We all know it. And fact of the matter is, none of us truly know how this room is going to turn out. And regardless of what comes of this Cleveland quarterback room in 2025, it is not going to stop them from selecting a quarterback with one of their 2 first-round picks in the 2026 NFL draft. We already get the owner, for God's sakes, talking about Arch Manning. And this honestly shouldn't be a surprise to anybody if, you go back, of course, to Jimmy Haslam's roots and where he's from. You can understand the affinity, of course, with the Manning family, of course, from Jimmy Haslam. I will just say one thing real quick on Arch Manning. I think everybody's ready to just anoint him, and that's probably definitely not a smart move at this point. The young man has only played 2 games. I think we all think he's going to be a great player. But, nobody needs any extra pressure. The other thing is, I do believe, like many others, that there's a real good chance that Arch Manning stays for the 2026 season at the University of Texas as well. However, what if, and unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to say the Cleveland Browns, What if the New Orleans Saints ended up with the number 1 pick in next year's draft? You'd have to think that would be the temptation that could possibly get Arch Manning and the Manning family to maybe escape their plan of Arch going 4 full years of college football, like his uncles Peyton and, of course, Eli both did before becoming first-round picks themselves. I think everybody keeps and I see it a lot, and I think I'm with Chad Ochocinco on this one. Everybody wants to keep talking about Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel, and it kind of blows me away because the more talented quarterbacks of the veteran and the 2 rookies, in my opinion, are Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders. So, if Kenny Pickett and maybe Dylan Gabriel are the early apple of the eye, well, go prove it with your play. I've already seen Joe Flacco tear it up for the Cleveland Browns. And none of my concerns with Shedeur Sanders coming out of Colorado had anything to do with his ability to throw the ball. I mean, I can't wait. I really can't wait to see this unfold. And again, I'm not rooting for anybody in any way whatsoever. I just want hopefully somebody to play and play extremely well for this team because I think, it's going to take a lot for this team to be competitive, maybe even successful this year in 2025. It's going to take a lot. But however, I do think if it's Joe Flacco or Shedeur Sanders, could be fun. Joe could get you to be successful. And I think even if they aren't very successful, this city, this city is ready to go gaga over Shedeur Sanders. The running back room. Obviously, a million questions with this right now. And the uncertainty of what exactly is going to become with Quinshon Judkins. Couldn't have been a worse time to make a mistake that was made. His rookie season, I'm not saying he's going to miss all of it, but I would think if we all agreed, we would probably say that Mike Hall's rookie season ended up being, you know, if you were grading it like it was a class, it would be an incomplete. And I think right now that's probably the best possible thing that we can get from Quinshon Judkins is maybe he plays enough that maybe we just deem it an incomplete. 2 years in a row now for the Cleveland Browns, losing second round picks early in the infancy of their careers due to off field issues. Got to tighten it up, man. Really got to tighten it up. Where do the Browns go here? Do they make moves? My honest belief is yes, I would bring in a body because the last thing I'm going to do right now is with not knowing how much I'm going to have of Quinshon Judkins is put a heavy workload in, obviously, practices, joint practices, preseason games on Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson. Doesn't make any sense to do that. So you definitely got to get a camp body in here. When we were talking last night on the show, the name Gus Edwards came up. And, no offense, I always thought Gus Edwards was a pretty decent running back in his time with the Ravens. It wasn't great last year, though, however, with the Chargers, and he was well under 4 yards per carry. So not sure I'm going to, run for the Gus bus necessarily, but we all know the way cut down works, and there will be players that are going to get moved on from, and the Browns holding the number 2 spot in the waiver wire should have a great opportunity to pick up another running back a couple of weeks before the season opener. And for Quinshon Judkins, we just wait and see. I think my guesstimation would be his suspension is probably going to be somewhere in that 5-game range that Mike Hall got. And again, this doesn't matter how the charges work out. The NFL will discipline you for what they felt. They don't need the court of law to deem how they are going to obviously, yeah, dole out punishment. The wide receiver room. We know what we got in JJ3. And anybody who's followed me for numerous years knows I was all over this move for a while. Browns finally got it done, extended Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry Jeudy took, a tiny bit to get going. But once Jerry Jeudy hit his stride, you saw it. You saw all the makings of what made him a former number one overall, and a former number one pick. If Cedric Tillman can duplicate his 3-game stretch last year, that was so good. I have high confidence in him. And I like the size of him. Cedric Tillman is no small dude. I mean, Cedric Tillman looks more like the tight ends than Cedric Tillman looks more like the wide receivers. Let's see. However, if anybody remembers in 2023, Cedric Tillman and Joe Flacco's on-field relationship just didn't really click very much. So let's see if that can change here in 2025 with a better version. Football matured into the NFL now, Cedric Tillman, and of course, the long-standing veteran. Deontay Johnson, let's get weird, right? I think that's where we're all at with Deontay Johnson. It could go pretty good. It could go horribly bad. Deontay Johnson's out of town in 3 days from now. That for me, let's get weird. I have no idea where that's going to go. I want to see Jamari Thresh get a lot of work, and I know everybody. It's tough. I think everybody, thinks that there's something there in Jamari Thresh, but the reality is he was a 5th-round pick. So maybe there isn't something there. Not everybody's Puka Nacua. But he needs a lot of work because I think at this point, you probably have higher hopes for he than, Mikey Trees, Mike Woods, David Bell. I can't even get into the DeAndre Carter thing. I don't necessarily even know why he's here. I got to be honest. And I would, when I'm a team that's really trying to turn things around and rebuild back up my roster, the last thing I'm worried about is having a straight return man. So DeAndre Carter being here, I mean, if you're going to give me the take it or leave it option, I'm leaving it 10 out of 10. No doubt about it. I honestly believe between the Green Bay Packers, the New England Patriots, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there is a wide receiver to be had from one of those 3 teams for the Cleveland Browns. And I would highly anticipate if Tillman and Deontay Johnson aren't playing to what, the realistic expectation level is, then the Browns will absolutely trade for a wide receiver. We're going to get a David Njoku bounce back year this year. David's in a contract here. David obviously had a great relationship with Joe Flacco. David is such a key part to this offense, and I think people don't get it. When you're getting the best out of David Njoku, it is extremely difficult to cover the Browns offense because David can do and run most of the tight end route tree, and his yard after catch ability is so good that you just have to give more attention to him than normally you would to a tight end. So I do believe there is going to be something there, and it's going to be a nice bounce back year for the Chief. Harold Fannin Jr., I think it's something where he might be gravitated in as time goes on during the season. Again, 21 years old, out of the MAC. Truly hard to believe that, he is NFL ready to go from day one. It's tough to believe that. Well, I hope to be wrong. But tight end development in the NFL, you go back and you're a fool not to look at the history because you're damned to repeat it if you don't. It's usually not a round 3 rookie tight end out of the MAC that's just going to hit the ground running. Again, let's hope we're wrong. The offensive line. I think the most important thing is that we are coming to camp healthy. All the talk about going back to the new system, this, that, and the other thing. Yes. I mean, sorry, the old system, the system the guys were comfortable in. Joel's a fan, and obviously Tyler and Antonio and Hosick. But a lot of this is just health, man. This offensive line barely got any work last year. Some guys didn't get any practice time, which meant they were not getting any practice time as a unit. No cohesion. Guys were coming back and essentially rehabbing while playing. Never a good recipe. I think the offensive line is going to be pretty damn good. I'm really, really looking forward to what DeJuan Jones can do with this opportunity at the left tackle position. Again, it's not about what DeJuan Jones can necessarily do for you in the run game. And most of the time, as a left tackle in this system, you're just blocking down on a defensive tackle anyway. But if the big man can keep those feet chopping like he did in 2023, I think he's totally capable. And again, he doesn't have to be a top 5 left tackle in the NFL. He doesn't have to be a top 10 left tackle in the NFL. Be a much better version of Jedrick Wills. And let's be honest, that's not very hard. DeJuan Jones, really, really looking forward to this year. Part of the, you got 4 third-year guys who have opportunity here to be key members of this team. Of course, Cedric Tillman. Of course, DeJuan Jones. Isaiah McGuire. And of course, Ronnie Hickman. What version are we going to get of Myles Garrett? Like, is there a chance Myles Garrett is going to hit another level? I mean, all's we're really besides a Super Bowl that who knows whenever that'll happen, or playoff success, Myles Garrett is just out there just absolutely padding a Hall of Fame resume. And I think this year, with more improved play on the interior and some of the other defensive ends growing and maturing, and speaking of defensive ends, Agbo Okoronkwo signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Good for him. Good for him. Good for Agbo. But Isaiah McGuire, man, just develop a little bit more of a pass rush repertoire. Because again, you're playing next to, Jesus of the defensive end position. Just put together a little bit more of a pass rush repertoire. And Isaiah McGuire, there's going to be sacks that could fall right into whatever defensive end is playing opposite of Myles, because, as Myles starts to get close to the quarterback, he's going to run for his life. And a lot of times he's probably just going to run right in to the other defensive end. Just get more sacks. Isaiah McGuire. Alex Wright in his contract year. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. Everybody talks about, other defensive ends after those 4. Nobody brings up the name Cam Thomas, who was a former top 100 pick of the Arizona Cardinals. Player I really liked Pete Smith, and I really liked Cam Thomas coming out of San Diego State. I think Cam Thomas maybe factors in here as that possible 5th edge. And, we know Alex Wright can rotate inside. We know Myles Garrett can rotate inside. So, any chance you get in obvious passing situations to get more pass rushers on the field, let's absolutely rock and roll as far as that is concerned. One of the biggest stories that is not getting the coverage it should be is certainly going to be Mason Graham. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns had a lot of interest and faith in what Mason Graham can possibly be. I'm not saying it was that good that they accepted the trade. Obviously, to have a second first-round pick next year and another second-round pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars was probably something that was just too good they could not pass up. But Mason Graham's got the work ethic, he's got the wrestling background, proven film from his time at Michigan. And again, interior defensive line is not an easy position to break into in the NFL by any means whatsoever. But you really believe that this is, that type of kid. And Mason Graham should be one of the bigger storylines of this 2025 training camp. Malik Collins, waiting word on Mike Hall, on whether or not Mike Hall is absolutely ready to go. As we all know, Mike Hall was injured in the season finale against the Ravens last year. So his availability as far as practice, certainly a question, and how soon is Mike Hall good to go? He was working out in California. It was a week ago or a little less than a week ago. He was with Shore Sanders when they were, spending time with those kids who unfortunately, were part of the apartment fire. And, kids, you just saw that Hall and Shador, just big kids themselves. And you saw Mike out there messing around a little bit. But, we know Mike is getting there. I'm not sure if Mike is necessarily practice there just yet. Malik Collins, Shelby Harris, and another name. I mean, and this is what you watch right now with this defensive tackle room. This defensive tackle room is about three guys. It's about Mason Graham. It is about Mike Hall. And it's about Jawan Briggs. That's it. Because you have a potential future nucleus in that room. And if all three of those guys can, take on some snap counts and be performers and producers, all of a sudden, this Browns defensive line looks really good and looks like it could be sustainably good with Myles Garrett as the top dog, McGuire, Graham, Hall, and of course, Juwan Briggs. There's a couple of groups here. I think the linebacker group, and I also think the safety group that might be more like the 2020 Cleveland Browns, where maybe guys are more in a little bit defined roles. And it actually worked for both those units in 2020. Talking about the BJ Goodsons of the world, the Sione Takis of the world. Secondary, you had Andrew Sendejo. And I remember MJ Stewart coming over. And by the end of the year, they were literally just blitzing him every time he was on the field. Guess they didn't trust him with much else, but so when you don't trust him any of that, just blitz, kid. But those groups had more defined roles in those days. Certainly things changed in the linebacker room, as Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, kind of stepped up and basically told everybody just who he was. That's still a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow right now without him being around for all this. And, as much as you probably should have some pretty high hopes for the potential of a Carson Schlesinger, again, seems a little jumping the gun to think that maybe Carson Schlesinger is just going to be, a stud from day one. But that's why you have the Hickses of the world, you have the Devin Bushes of the world, the Jerome Bakers of the world, the Mahmoud Diabates of the world. This Browns linebacker group, could see, obviously a lot of guys play a lot. And hopefully that sort of transforms into, of course, Carson Schlesinger establishing that group as his own, as the top dog. And then we'll see in 2026 if number 6 is back or not. And then all of a sudden, you would maybe have a top shelf linebacker room with the Cleveland Browns. But for this year, I think it's, you work Schlesinger in, and you're going to see more of defined roles and many linebackers playing, just like the Browns did in 2020. The cornerback room, the Warden, led by the Warden, been everything that could have been asked for since being drafted number 4 overall in the 2018 draft. Has missed time. It's physical position at times. Denzel, I think sometimes forgets just what exactly his size is and, tries to get maybe a little bit more physical than he should. And then people, oh, he misses time. Yeah. Well, if he, made a business decision every now and then and, maybe pulled his head out of a tackle or you guys would just ride him anyway. So, I mean, there's one of those, it's basically a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. But you just have an unreal cover guy and has always been so excellent for this team. Everybody always talks about, guys that, Ring of Honor. Denzel Ward's knocking on the door, but Ring of Honor type of player. Truly is. Emerson and Newsome, it's big for them. It's big for them. It is that time coming off that rookie contract, trying to cash the heck in. And, there'll be plenty of opportunities for both these guys on the field. I know Greg Newsome would like to play more on the outside, but for that to happen, the Browns are going to have to maybe try to make this an open competition where Greg Newsome maybe is the starting corner and then kicks in when Emerson comes on the field. But it's really, and it's definitely, I mean, it's just crazy interesting. You have two guys from the same positional group, teammates, obviously friends, and, you know, both trying to chase the bag. If they both end up achieving the bag, this would probably mean this was a highly, highly successful season for the Cleveland Browns defensive unit. There's not much future to this room. I'm not going to lie to you. Of course, Cam Mitchell been here for a while, but so many guys in front of him. Nick Needham. Don't don't sleep on Nick Needham, man. He's a quietly do the right thing football player. Played on those Dolphins teams that stunk so bad. But there were some players that were developed of it. Andrew Van Ginkel, and of course, Nick Needham. You know, there's just not much else there for this cornerback room. Certainly would not be surprised if the Cleveland Browns are in the market somewhere this summer for a corner. And it's going to be tough because, I think you're going to want to get somebody in here. And it's almost going to be like you're going to get him in here for it to be a, break glass option. But I wouldn't be surprised. And again, do not sleep on Nick Needham. Nick Needham is a really, really sound football player. A guy that's never going to wow you. A guy that just does what he was supposed to do. Secondary safeties, Grant Delpit just been a solid player for this team since 21. Of course, when he came back off the Achilles very early in the infancy of his career in the 2020 COVID camp. Remember when we were all watching back on YouTube? But Delpit can play. And the Browns need to get somebody to be able to man the free safety position because it's a waste to put Delpit back there. You want him around the line of scrimmage as an aid in run defense. You want him covering backs. You want him covering tight ends. So that gets you to the Ronnie Hickman, DeMonte Casey, Ryshawn Jenkins. Hickman is your first guy up. And you're hoping year 3, he can seize it and show more consistency. Closer to what he was as a rookie in 23. Casey was a former corner, transferred to safety, so the ball skills are there, obviously. Jenkins is a little bit everything. Can play up by the line, can play some deep free, definitely can cover a tight end. Interesting player. But I wouldn't be surprised if a decent safety came available. The Browns might jump at the opportunity for a guy that could play free safety for this team. 30 minutes my facts on the positional groups of the Cleveland Browns. You want fluff? You want made up innuendos? There's plenty of sites to go to read that stuff. I speak in the facts of Jeff. But tomorrow, hope springs eternal. And the 2025 Cleveland Browns take the practice field again as one. And we all know what the goal is, even if it seems unrealistic. Go out there and win, baby. Appreciate everybody with all the support here to the OBR and joining throughout the day for the great written content from our wonderful, fantastic group of writers. The OBR streaming network that begins every evening starting at 6 o'clock with Browns 3D. You will have Brad Ward and Pete Smith at 7 with the React. There'll be a Garage Beers tonight with Mike Keefe, and nobody gets more excited about his shows than Mike Keefe. Mike is a fun host, so make sure you give your eyes and ears to that as well. The VIP package over at the OBR.com. Look, you get Paramount Plus with it. So regardless, you get even if you want to view it as you get the OBR for free because you did the Paramount Plus. No, you got to sign up with us first, then you get Paramount Plus. But you're not just getting, the OBR.com VIP package, which is worth it alone. Everybody's opinions and, everybody's bantering back and forth with all the fantastic contributors. Members of the OBR community. You also get Paramount Plus out of the deal. Make sure you subscribe to the OBR on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to the OBR over on Twitch. And this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. Browns 3D on the OBR streaming network. We will talk.